Hi, I'm Mike from Musicworks Renovations. Our motto, we work to a different tune. And no, we don't have 7 dwarfs running around here whistling while they work, even though Elf says it's okay to sing while I'm working, I'm singing while I'm working. Anyway, we call ourselves Musicworks, and people keep asking me that question all the time. Why do you call yourself Musicworks Renovations? Well, because we used to have a recording studio, and we gave it up because we prefer to eat instead. Anyway, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because by doing that, I'm not too sure what happens. But apparently it's good for us, and it's good for you, because you stay informed when we put out new videos, and that's good for us, and I think it's good for you too. Okay, anyway, so today we are looking at the Sheetrock Sander by WEN. Right now. WEN? Who said that? Who's on first? I don't know. Third base. The brand name is WEN. So come on in, let's take a look at this. I want to go through the features with you real quick, because this baby, it's got some good points, it's got some bad points, and I want to give you some tips as well. So first thing I want to do is go through the thing from end to end. We start here. This is one end. Hey, look at this end. This is where the hose comes out. Now the hose is very interesting. It is a small hose, which I have blocked off now so dust doesn't come out of it. And I do have it actually attachment to another small hose. But you can get those adapters that stick right in. You get them at Home Depot, and they're only a couple dollars. It's a decently long hose, and it is a flex hose. Do not crush it. If you crush it, you will have problems. I had to repair mine by putting a 1-inch electrical pipe inside it. Anyhow, other features. Good gripping. It extends to 1.6 meters, which is not very large. Actually, this is its entire length. It has a hook here for hanging. Do not store it with the head down flat on the floor. If you do, this whole section can get damaged. It can get warped. So let's go back here. We have another hand grip right here. We have the on-off switch right there. It's on. Here it goes. It's not that loud, which is nice. Variable speed, very important. The variable speed allows us to go slower, allows us to go a little bit faster, depending on what you want. That's very important. Coming up here, one of the most important features to me is this release mechanism. By using the release mechanism right here, one of the things I like to do once I have the vacuum hooked up is to put my fingers here to feel if there's suction. If there's suction, we know the vacuum is working great. If it's not working great, you are going to be in a world of cloud. Getting to the head right here, we have a completely swivel head, which goes in all different directions. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Also shock mount, so these screws have little springs in them, which allows it to move around. And lastly, here we see the holes where as it sands, it actually gets sucked up through those little holes. But I got a list here. I want to go through some of the things that are important. First of all, the Pro. It works very well. This is a great thing, especially if you're not the greatest taper in the world. You want to do like your second coat and then hit it with a 120 grit and then sand the whole thing down. It's actually pretty decent for something like that, because then you hit the third coat and it's a lot smoother. But now I want to get to the cons, because it's very important. And I'm talking fast because I want to make sure I get all this in really quickly. Con, it's not very long. I wish this thing was a little bit longer. I recently did a building with 16-foot ceilings, and we had to use a lift to do the second part. You got good gripping, but for great height, it's really not the greatest. Okay. The head, if you notice I put blue tape around the head. When you get to the corners, if you're doing the corners, which I just briefly do with this, it can leave black lines around the edges on the wall. That's another thing. I wish they had like some kind of padding on this as well. Balance. When you're up on the ceiling, you'll see it doesn't like to really go flat. The one thing I don't like is the fact that the balance is very engine heavy. If there was a way that they could modify this a little bit so that the balance was a little bit more even, so that as you moved it, it would stay even, it would help us a lot, because it does return to that position. And the last con is this grip here. I have a tendency somehow of turning off the power switch. Maybe it's just me, but a lot of the times as I'm moving around, somehow my thumb hits that power switch when I'm working on it. But now let me go to tips if you decide to use this thing. I personally recommend it. We have 0 hammers being bad and 5 hammers being good. I'll give this 4 hammers so you can beat it up like that. Bam, 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 bam. Anyway, I give this thing a good 4 hammers because it's really good. It's nice. It's a little bit heavy. I don't know. I haven't used too many of these things. It does have a little bit of weight to it, but I guess it can't be too light. So let's get to some of the tips. Okay, do never store it with the head down. If you store it like this, it can wobble, distort the head, and it's bad. That's why it has the hanging hook up top. Use the hanging hook. That's very good. When you are starting, always start it very flat. So what I like to do is I actually like to get it up against the wall, this motion, so that it's flat before I begin to turn it and pivot the head. Because if you come in on an angle, you can hit this edge and it can leave grooves. And that's not good, especially if you're trying to make a smooth surface. So try to go in flat. Always start on the paper. Do not start on the sheetrock area, as in the spackled area, because it will leave grooves again. Start on the paper, work your way over. And by the way, do the whole wall. Don't just do the spackled parts. Do like the whole wall. Make the whole thing even consistent. Works out a lot better like that too. Another tip, removing the paper. Don't just yank it and pull this stuff. It's very, very, very tight on here. So what you do is you'll get your fingers in here and you push down to separate and pull it back like that. Just push your finger in and pull it back, and that will separate it. And I also found that lining up the holes, when you put it in, line up the holes as you're setting it down, top and a bottom hole, so you only have to do it once. I typically don't have to do it twice. Pull it back off and put it back down. Just look at the holes as you're setting it in, line up one, line up the other, and then put it right down just with the two opposite holes, and the rest of the holes are basically going to fall right in line with all the other ones. Okay, yes, the other thing is when you're doing ceilings and stuff like this, as you can see, it wants to bend, it's staying like this, and you get this long reach. For me personally, I found it better. I get up on my stilts and I'll sand it in a closed position, arm down like this. So I'm not using much shoulder, I'm using more bicep, and it seems to work a lot better. I have better control than trying to do this way up in the air and try to keep it balanced, because the head wants to go back in this position so easily. If you release a little bit of tension, it curves down. So I'm finding, especially walls, keeping close to the machine really, really, really helps. Okay, and the last thing I really wanted to show you is the Cyclone. This is essential. You're going to be using your sander and it's going to be hooked up to a vacuum. But as you hook it up to the vacuum, you're going to find that your filter clogs every 5 minutes, if that long. By utilization of the Cyclone, the debris comes in here, spins around, gets faster, and shoots down, while the vacuum itself is sucking from the top. And this means that all this debris goes down into your spackle bucket, which, by the way, make sure it's very, very, very well sealed. So all the debris goes down the spackle bucket, very little gets in the filter. And every 30, 40 minutes, I think I checked my filter once actually yesterday while sanding with it, and I just banged off a little bit of the debris and it was fine, and it suctioned for the entire day. If not, you're going to be stuck basically checking your filter every 5 minutes. Well, that's about it. I think this is an extremely useful tool if you put all the pieces together. If you use the Cyclone with your vacuum, you check your suction, you make sure that your angle is always good on the head as you begin sanding. Before the third coat, a nice 120 grit, hit it with a 400 afterwards, hit every single bit of the wall. If you do all these little things, it is a nice tool by WEN, W-E-N, WEN? I said now, WEN, now, well, okay. By WEN, it's not a bad tool at all. As always, these are my opinions and my tips from what I've done in my experience. I encourage you guys to leave comments below so that way you can give other people tips, other people ideas, that things that I don't do. This is about us like teaching each other, and it's not about what I know, but about our collective experience to help others. So this is Mike from Musicworks signing off until our next review. Hope you have fun at work. See ya. Bye.